Transition awareness breathing. Feeling grounded for both children and parents is essential for healthy living and learning. Join Eartha Powell on this series for tips and tools for creating a harmonious environment for learning. Transition awareness breathing will help you and your child find an individualized path to tackle change, promote lifelong learning, and discover new approaches to calmness.
Hi, welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. This is Eartha. Today, you're looking at me, and this is a little bit different. I wanted to continue our discussion on abundance with a little bit of imagery and visualizations. So I thought it would be different to do a visual podcast. So let's see how it goes. Before I go any farther, thank you, Web Talk Radio, for giving me a platform to bring transition awareness breathing to my listeners. And thank you to my producers for making Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast available to my listeners everywhere they are at. So let's get started. What word comes to your mind when we're talking about opposites and abundance? So what word comes to your mind when we want to explore the opposite of abundance? If we said last time that abundance means, in relation to food, is overindulgence, and we explored how that made our body feel, our thoughts and our emotions, and the pure functionality of sluggishness, then is abundance, is it a positive state of being? Is it something that we should all want? The outcome of abundance, is it the same for those the blank? Do I have an abundance of whatever, wealth, jewelry, clothing? You fill in the blank. What is the outcome? Last time we talked about how, in my opinion, abundance sometimes leads to a numbness. It leads to a lack of awareness and appreciation and thankfulness, because we get so accustomed to the abundance. So the opposite, if we're thinking about, if we, kind of talk about the food scenario, well, the opposite would be hunger or starvation. And, the abundance of starvation or the abundance of poverty. And the outcome, the emotional outcome, the physical outcome of poverty. So maybe abundance, when we look at it in that perspective, is totally, totally different. It opens up a whole different conversation. If you are maybe entertaining a thought of, well, maybe, poverty or hunger or situations where people find themselves in abundance of lack, if there's any thought that comes to your mind that, maybe it's their choice or lack of good choices, or it was something because of of what the person did or not do. Well, I challenge you to take that thought and make it a little bit more broad. If we are a society of compassion and kindness, wouldn't that infiltrate poverty? I mean, wouldn't there be a diffusion of kindness and compassion from the world of abundant prosperity to abundant deprivation or poverty? I mean, or is there a block? Is it something that maybe abundance is, if one has a mindset that, not everyone wants to work at achieving abundance, then isn't that an abundant mindset of stifling growth instead of scaffolding a positive growth mindset to help build on what one is weak in instead of maybe judging and comparing? Because mindfulness practice involves a non-judgmental approach. So what does this really mean when we look at abundance in our society? In my humble opinion, I think what's being revealed is that we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And I think the next question is, part of mindfulness is being able to identify parts of ourselves where we can grow. And so, how do we start to grow? I don't have the answers. And I'm not even going to pretend I have any solutions. What I am willing to explore, and I hope I am not alone in this venture, is to work and put forth effort, self-effort, and community effort to make our tomorrows better. Abundance may mean something different to different populations. At the end, or at the outcome, my question is, in whoever definition of abundance is their life for everyone, is their joy for everyone, or is the abundance and the life. Because if abundance is just for a select population or a select group, then abundance is really an abundance of negativity. I think we have to go back to the definition of abundance. Because if we use our awareness skills, if we sincerely use our awareness skill and look at ourselves as a community, as mankind, if we look at ourselves and see that one element of ourselves is lacking something that prevents it from functioning at its optimum, at its best, as one may want to use a scientific term, at an equilibrium, at a balance. If something is keeping it from operating out of balance, then is it really abundance? Is that element draining? Is it charging a negative flow of a behavior or an emotion? See, what we're doing, and what I invite you to do along with me in this podcast, is to look at the basic functions and elements of mindfulness and examine and see, are we really mindful as a society? I mean, we use the words. We can find it in the literature. We can find it in many spiritual books. Mindfulness, kindness, compassion. I invite you to use our basic five senses and really observe and explore our life in abundance. And are we sharing our abundance of kindness, of compassion, of mindfulness with those around us? A snowstorm. A snowstorm is an abundant amount of snow. A flood. An abundant amount of rain. And yet, isn't it during these times of natural disasters, hands are opened up, communities that are destroyed are being rebuilt, and people help each other in a time when so much has been damaged? Do we have to wait until we're raked over the coals of disparity, of sadness, of pain, before our world comes together? Do we have to function in a disparity in order to stimulate and motivate kindness? Is that how we want our generations in the future to look back on these days and read about us in history books? Oh, but wait. Mindfulness. We're not talking about looking back. We're talking about the now. Mindfulness is looking at what's going on right now. within